The show is made possible in part by its supporting sponsors: Blue Water Power Group of Companies, Joe's Discount Tire, and AskGuy.ca. Another one that's been on my list for some time. We tried to get together before Christmas, but it was a busy time. But my friend Robert Hughes, thanks Robert for being here.
No problem, Dave. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. This is going to be fun, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We kind of connected through hockey, but we've sort of got to know each other a little bit. But we're always busy at the Sting games.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like I see you all the time doing your live intermission shows, and before the game, it's really cool that you have that good following of people.
Yeah. I'm grateful to be able to do it. But let's talk about you. And I'll do what I always do. Let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Mississauga and Brampton region.
Okay.
I was born with cerebral palsy.
Okay.
Almost 2.5 months early, I would say. I was born April 27th, and I was supposed to be born the beginning of July.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I would consider myself kind of a miracle.
Sure.
To be around because, medical advances back in 1983 are a lot different than they are today, right? So I grew up in Brampton, yeah.
Okay. And how long were you in Brampton before you came to Sarnia?
Yeah, so I stayed in Brampton until I was 25, and then I moved to Sarnia in the summer of 2007.
Okay. What brought you here?
Yeah, so I had a Paralympic career, and at the time, Athletics Canada approached me and said, I think it's time for you to explore a coaching change, right? Because sometimes when you reach a certain peak with one coach, it's just time to move and go into another situation. So I had met a coach from down here, Joel Skinner, at a training camp a year prior, because he was coaching another athlete from the area. So I had messaged him and I said, would this work? Like, could I come down and, work with you? And he said, absolutely, 100%. But it's my way or the highway, right?
Yeah,
but that was challenging because I didn't have anywhere to live. It was really spur of the moment. Okay, I got to make it work.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, I'm a federally funded carded athlete through my Paralympic sport. So what can I do? So I said, they pay for schooling while I'm in school, or while I'm funded, right? So I just looked at what Lambton College had to offer, and I saw that they had sports and recreation administration. So I said, why not, right? So anyways, I had taken e-commerce management at Sheridan College prior to, so my transfer into Lambton College was kind of quite smooth because they had already seen that I had, graduated from post-secondary education before, so therefore it made it easy. So I still needed a place to live, so what did I do? I had to call Lambton College residents and see if they had a spot.
And you'd have some special needs for that too, right? A special living space.
Yeah, exactly, a special living space, and they didn't really have it. Like when I went into the room.
This was what year again?
2007.
Yeah, so things were still catching up.
Exactly. So when I went into the room, I had a roommate, but the room was probably maybe 450, 500 square feet.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't even turn a wheelchair around. Mm-hmm. So they ended up making an accommodation for me, and I ended up getting my own room because I needed the space, right? So awesome. they ended up making an accommodation for me for that.
That's fantastic that they did that for you, right?
Absolutely.
To recognize the needs.
And I almost didn't even get a space because I hadn't filled out the paperwork properly.
Right.
And back then, email and online,
they were
still figuring that out. So the only way you could do it was fax it or mail it in.
A fax. Oh my goodness.
So I got a phone call in August, and I happened to I was in Brazil at the time, competing at the Pan Am Games,
nice.
and said, Lambton College residents, we need your application or you're not getting a spot. And I said, well, I'm in Brazil. So let me try and find a fax machine.
Yeah.
And anyways, I found a fax machine. I spent $9.80 a page and got them the application. And yeah.
That's awesome. Boy, they really wanted you then, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
well, they wanted to make sure I had the spot, right?
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah. So what was your first year in the Paralympics then?
So I started in Paris sport in the early 90s, and I played sledge hockey. And that was through Cruiser Sports for the physically disabled in the Halton PO region. That was really tough because for my first 3 years, I couldn't do anything but go in a circle because I just couldn't control the sled. So then I got better and better as time went on. And then in 1998, I was approached by the president of Cruiser Sports, and he said, I think you'd be really good at track and field events, specifically throwing. Why don't you give it a try? So sure enough, I did. And then within the 3 years, I was on the national team radar. And
what was that, like shot put? Or?
Shot put, discus, and javelin.
Wow.
So, and I can explain a little bit how the para sports system works.
Sure.
So the para sports system is divided into categories.
Okay.
So you have motor or neuron function. That would be where I fall under.
Okay.
Or you have amputee, or you have a wheelchair, and they're all in different categories based on your level of ability. So you go through a classification process by people who are very, very skilled at making sure so everybody's in a level playing field.
Right.
So I competed against the same type of ability as me.
Wow, that's amazing. And you're wearing this. We've got, we're going to show him off here. Like, this is what we want to do. We've got, there's a medal. We've got all these medals. 1, 2, 3. There's like some more. This one's really cool. I like this one. It's almost like a badge.
Oh, that one is from the 2016 Canadian Championship / Olympic and Paralympic trials.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And we've got more here. I like this one too. What's that from?
That one is 2013 Moncton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got like, I don't know, 15 more. We could be here all day showing off these
Yeah.
medals.
Well, I just happened to be really good, and I ended up being undefeated in Canada for 18 years.
That's amazing.
In all 3 disciplines.
Yeah.
And when I retired at the end of 2016, I was still the Canadian record holder.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
You got some real good bragging rights there, Robert.
Yeah. I try not to brag about it, because I'm a humble person.
Yeah, I
but
get it.
yeah, like
We want you to talk about it here. And I remember a mutual friend of ours, Roger Graham.
Yep.
And we had a fundraiser for you at Rock and Roll we did some karaoke and to help. You needed some funds to get to some of these events, right?
Yeah, because what happens is when your funding runs out, but you still have to pay for certain. Not everything was always paid for.
Right.
So you had to come up with a sponsor or something to help you get to events. When you're talking about in the prime of my career, like from May to August, I was maybe home a week and a half. Like I was always traveling to different meets, whether it be somewhere in Canada or over in Europe. I was always busy on a circuit. Yeah. So, it was...
And you got to eat.
Yeah, you got to eat. You got to stay in a hotel. You got to lots of expenses.
So you've traveled a lot then.
Yes, I have.
So that's an experience in itself.
Yeah. So my very first international competition happened to be the Sydney 2000 Paralympic Games.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had no experience internationally prior to those games, and talk about a shell shock. Like I didn't even know I was going, but
right.
one day after school, I came in and I sat on the couch, and my mom and my stepdad just put an envelope in front of me, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this, right? Like, and it happened to be an envelope from the Canadian Paralympic Committee that said, congratulations, you have been selected to the 2000 Paralympic Games, and we're leaving in 3 weeks, something like that, right? So the funny story is they had to know before me.
Oh.
Because I was a minor, like I was 17.
Oh, okay.
So they had to give permission for me to go. And they also had to have time to, if they wanted to attend, they had to figure out their logistics. And logistics to travel to Australia at last minute are not that easy, I'm sure. Right? Yeah. So, and visa processes, all that stuff. So I ended up being there for 6 weeks, just under chaperonage from Team Canada staff. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You've had a lot of support, obviously, from family and friends. Let's talk about your connection to hockey, though. We'll shift gears just a little bit now. And how did you get involved? Because you're kind of the stats guy, or one of the stats guys at the Sting games.
So I'm one of the So again, through the sports and recreation program, I noticed that in the second and third year, you needed a co-op opportunity.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do around here? But I noticed, hey, the arena's right there. So again, just curious, I went on the Sting website, and I found at the time Mark Glavin's email, and he was the PR director at the time, and now he's the associate general manager. Yep. But I just sent him an email and said, this is my story. I'm a Canadian Paralympian. I moved to Sarnia for a new coach, and I said I need a co-op opportunity. So sure enough, I went in for an interview, and I think they were a little shell-shocked because they saw, the disability a little bit. But after I had the interview with him, he said, there's something here for you for sure. So we'll figure it out. And sure enough, after the interview, he said, go on down to the dressing room and meet the head coach and general manager at the time, Dave McQueen. So I did that, and he said, okay, so you're going to run time on ice for me. And I'm like, okay, no problem. What's that entail? So basically it was a Excel spreadsheet, and you put in the roster for the day, and then every time they jump on and off the ice, you click their name, right? Wow. So you're talking about like really busy, right?
You had to pay attention.
Yeah, so
time.
Yeah, people are running into each other, and
oh yeah, right.
Sure enough, I thought for sure, so my first game, I ended up leaving. It happened to be Steven Stamkos on the ice for the entire period. So I forgot to click him off the ice, right? But yeah, so I did that for 5 seasons, and then they started to bring in online scoring.
Right.
It didn't used to be that way. You just had to do the old sheets and look it up in the little box score of. But they brought in online scoring, and then this thing approached me and asked, would you mind doing that? Yeah. And I said, sure. And I've been doing that ever since, right? Yeah.
So how many years doing that now?
So this is my 15th season. Yeah. So yeah, and actually the 16th will be my 500th.
I was going to say, you got a special anniversary.
Yeah, the 16th will actually be my 500th official game. Should be a little more, but due to me being away with Paralympic involvement, I missed quite a few. But you know what? 500 is amazing, right? And when you really think about it, to achieve that as a person with a disability in an industry that is really, really difficult to get into, to break down that barrier, like that accomplishment in itself is gonna be with me for the rest of my life.
That's an example too, Robert. For others in your position, to bring down those barriers. Let's talk about that a little bit more. How have you've broken down a lot of barriers, obviously. How have you done that? Because there's got to be a real mental side, like mindset, I guess, to that.
So, and I will contribute that to, my mom and my grandparents and my stepdad who raised me, really, because they didn't give me anything other than everything mainstream. Instead of keeping me sheltered, instead of keeping me away from the public, they put me into mainstream school. They put me into the sports.
Deal with it.
They said, deal with it. Like, if you don't like it, tough, figure it out, right?
Right.
So, and really,
tough love, right?
I really think that people with disabilities, whether it's visible or invisible, take that chance, because it doesn't matter. There will be somebody out there that will see you for the value that you are. And it's really difficult. I know it's scary. I get it. But you got to take that chance, because someone will believe in you, and you might have to do things a different way, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible.
Yeah.
Right.
What a great philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's difficult for others, because the chair is obviously that's probably one of the first things people see. And do people ask the question? Like, I spoke to you, like, is it okay if we talk about it? Absolutely. You were like, people.
Yeah.
Do people come up? Do they ask you the question?
Sure, they ask the question, or they'll ask, what happened to you?
Right.
And I say, I was born with cerebral palsy, 2.5 months early. It caused a lack of oxygen to my brain and caused me to have neurological deficit. And, that's what I say. But I say the wheelchair is just an extension of my body. It doesn't define me as the person. It's just an extension. It's my legs. It's, people say all the time, well, how'd you get in a wheelchair? Well, I got out of bed and sat my butt in it, and there you go.
Right.
That's what I do every day, right? So, I just think really anybody that has a disability, you're not alone. There's people there that will be there for you if you need anything, whether it's visible or, mental disability, anything, invisible disability, whatever. There are the supports out there. Just don't be afraid to reach out.
We're trying to reduce that stigma, I guess, right?
Exactly. I think that's the big thing.
And educate people too.
The stigma, for sure. And it's a huge stigma. Like, I'll give you the example. So I graduated from the sports and recreation program in 2013. I did a reduced course load because I had all my Team Canada involvement. So it took me a little longer. That's okay. But so I graduated, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's get a job, right? Okay, so 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, I probably sent out, 250 resumes.
Wow.
And not even, I got 2 callbacks in that time frame, and I did 2 interviews. And I knew going into the interview, as soon as they looked at me, I didn't have a chance. Mm-hmm. Because they saw the wheelchair.
How did that make you feel? Besides frustrated as hell.
Yeah, of course. Very frustrated because, they didn't even look at my resumes or bother to ask me the important questions, right? So, literally... And I think that's a big scary thing too, because most people with disabilities now, because of the stigmas, think, well, why do something? Because I'm not going to get it, right? But sure enough, I was persistent enough, and in 2017, I sent an email out to Lambton Elderly Outreach, and I got an email back from Bill Yurchuk, who happens to be my boss now here at Wellings.
Billy's awesome.
But yeah, he is awesome. And he gave me a shot at a job, and I stayed there for the better part of 5 years. And I got really sick with the original strain of COVID before it was actually known what it was, before there was any, and I almost passed away from it. But I bounced back after a year and a half off to recoup and recover, and I just came back to the workforce.
You're just a great example. And for those of you who are watching out there, take a moment and put your questions or your comments. And I know Robert won't be afraid to answer your questions. We're going to monitor that, and you can check that out for sure. So please do that. And take a moment and click around and the like and the love and share button so we can get Robert's story out there some more. You know, it's really interesting to me that I'm a real philosophical mindset type person, right? And I believe anything can be overcome or whatever. But I think to myself, I don't know how I would handle it. Like, honestly, like being born, I'd say, has that made it easier because that's how it's always been. But you probably know people that were able to walk, etc. before, and then something happened and now they're not. Like, that would be a strain to a person.
So...
Like I don't know how I'd handle it.
Yeah, definitely. Congenital at birth is certainly a lot different than somebody who has acquired a disability. Yeah. It was certainly very, very difficult, but I still think the key is to just find those supports that you need to help you get through, whether it's
support groups.
Have
you leaned on that?
Support, absolutely. There's been times where mental health is a huge issue. Yeah. You know, lean on your friends, support groups, people you don't know. Because I think, honestly, the people that you don't know, like personally, they give a way different perspective than somebody that actually has a personal connection to you in some way. Yeah. So I think leaning on those people really helps too, you know, and it's difficult too. And I'll even talk about the disability system in Ontario itself, right? It is very difficult for somebody with a disability in this province to get ahead in life. So it used to be you could make $200 a month, and then for every dollar over that $200, they would take 50 cents of every dollar you earned over that off of your disability support check.
Really?
Okay. So legislative poverty, right?
Right.
So anyway, again, now they've changed the rules. They make it, you can earn $1,000 in a month. Okay. But for every dollar you make over $1,000, they take 75 cents for every dollar.
So they're sort of making it look better, but not really.
It's not really. It's the same thing. It's still legislative poverty, but the number's bigger, so it looks better to a lot of.
It's deceiving.
It is. It's very difficult. Yeah. Very difficult.
And like, let's talk about. I think I was here a couple of weeks ago talking to you, and you had a part on your chair. Your chair was broken.
Yeah.
And you made the comment, said, while there's a little bit of support for that, that part was $350.
Yeah, so...
And that's probably the cheapest part I know.
Yeah, so, like, you don't even want to get into the cost of a chair. Like if you want to know what a chair like this cost, $22,000-ish. So...
Wow.
So...
It's a car.
Exactly.
Well, a mini car.
It's a car, right? Some people's car, yeah. So... You're talking about that one little part is $350. Well, there you go. Where do I get the $350?
I can't imagine the gear and the digital side of it.
It's pretty.
So how do you make out with that?
So luckily, that I do have the disability support. Most of the things are covered. However, when my accident happened and I almost passed away,
Right.
I had to change my equipment very quickly. We did online fundraising for this chair.
Yeah.
And, again, being very vulnerable, I had to put myself out there.
You had some friends help you with that, I think.
Friends and set up the campaign and made it go viral. And then I did a newspaper story with the Observer and things like that. But it's so difficult to comprehend. Like, living life with a disability is so expensive.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond.
Yeah. And especially, you talk about the living quarters.
Yeah.
You need certain things at certain heights and you need enough room and to, all the things that's the rest of us might take advantage of or take for granted.
Yeah.
Not in a bad intentional way. It doesn't affect us necessarily, so we don't think about that. Are we? I know, city of Sarnia. I know there was a gentleman that worked very hard there to promote accessibility, etc. Are we doing better as a community, as a society, to recognize the needs?
Sure, absolutely. In Sarnia, for sure, there's been huge improvements in terms of making the curb cuts accessible everywhere.
Right.
Transportation, all the buses are now completely accessible, right? Sarnia is doing a great job. The province, not so much. Everybody's supposed to be compliant by the end of 2025, and they're nowhere close.
No.
Nowhere close.
Well, let's face it, just restaurants.
Yeah.
Do you call ahead? Maybe not now, but you probably figured out which ones work for you and which ones don't work for you.
Yeah, so again, same thing. And I'll say even transportation to go to events. It's not that it's anybody's fault, but if I want to go out to a bar with some friends, whatever, but I can do that, but I have to leave by
a certain time,
10:30 at night, because
transportation
is cut off, right?
And that's Leo that you use.
That's Leo. Yes, I do use them, and I said it, and it's no fault of their own. It's just their hours, right? You can't have but it would be nice to have that opportunity to say, hey, I can stay out as late as I want.
I suppose, Rob, wintertime would be more challenging.
Yeah.
Right? Because, the wheels can slip or...
Yeah, whatever. They're not really, they're not built for the winter.
They're not
that's
snow
for
tires?
Sure. No, they just spin. Yeah. So that's why the chair actually broke, because I had to jump a gap of snow, and it bottomed out, and it snapped on me. But, yeah.
Yeah. And I know Lambton Elderly Outreach, they're great.
Great organization.
They've done so much.
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
We appreciate that for sure. But again, that's one of those things that most of the rest of us take for granted. I go to the Sting game and I just go, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just hoping the ice isn't slippery or something, right? So you really you ever thought of done any motivational speaking? Because I think you're
it's not that you're not the first person that's actually
you're really inspiring.
It said that to me. So yeah, do I like the limelight? Do I like do I like the spotlight? No, I don't. It's not my thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean I won't maybe think about it.
Your story is impactful though, right? And
yes.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't like to, but you're sharing even just this here, you're sharing.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people in your position that are I just don't want to talk about it at all, and I, we've all got something where everybody's got a story. I think you'd be great at that. You're doing great at this right now. So did you ever look at being a coach for yourself?
Well, for my Paralympic sport, yeah, for sure. That crossed my mind. And same thing with hockey. I always thought, hey, well, I could take the courses, I can do it.
Yeah.
But where's the barrier come in?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Could you?
How do you get behind the bench?
Could you coach the Sarnia Sting there, Robert?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Do you think I could ask Alan Letang maybe take his job for the night? Yeah. No, yeah, right. He won't let that happen. Yeah, right. But when you think of things like that, there's that barrier that may never.
How do you get behind the bench?
Be broken down, right? Because of the physical barrier of the facility. It's not to say that you couldn't do it. It's just there's a physical barrier of the way the bench is set up or something like that, right?
There's got to be a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you'd be that first one.
Yeah, you never know.
Right. That's amazing that you think that way. Like you, but I know as a hockey fan, and obviously you're in the Sting's corner.
Yeah.
But well, they've had a tough year, right? You know.
Yeah.
And but one thing I've noticed, I know you have too. We've talked about it. Is the numbers that are still coming out and the fan support, like the attendance, I guess.
Yeah.
We're like what top 7.
Top 7 in the league,
right? And that's like going up against like Budweiser Gardens and others that are bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you attest that to?
The passion of the city, and how much people in this community love hockey.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we've been on the brink for so long.
Just like so close.
You know, and last year, you know, the staff went all in and said, "Hey, we're going for it. Like, let's do it," right? And like that arena was packed every night, right? So, yeah, like, and I can't say enough about the Sting organization. Everybody there now, whether they're in the front office, hockey operations, everybody is committed to bringing a Memorial Cup championship to the city of Sarnia. So don't worry, Sting fans, we're not done yet. This year is a little bit of we're going back down. It's junior hockey's ebbs and flows, right? So you're going to be really good, and then you're going to not be good.
Well, even Coach Letang and Dylan Sika both said, you know, we're not naive to the fact of what we are dealing with here.
Yeah.
However, there's an expectation still, and you know, there's a lot of frustration going on there right now. I mean, we saw a hard loss here, you know, to London and some others, but I always give shout out to Al Letang and his philosophies of the team. Do you think his philosophies has been a big part of?
Yeah, exactly. When he came in, and they talk about the culture shift, and you know, work hard, put in the work, trust the process, things will fall in line, you know. And I love that about him because he holds everybody accountable. You need to work hard.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the Sting organization and all of the staff, and you know, you shout out to Jake Borey, who's stepped in big time to a lot of things. It's really been a work in progress. There's the Sting team, but then there's the other team too. That's pushing.
There's so much that the average fan doesn't see behind the scenes, right? And I think
there's not 50 people doing this.
No,
there's a handful.
It's a very small group. Why? Because we're a small market team.
Yeah.
So the group of people behind the scenes is very small, but they work their butts off, and you know. And
the Sting philosophy too. It's a positive one.
Positive,
inclusive.
Everybody. Nobody is too big or small, right?
I'm grateful that I'm even allowed to be there, because my friends would say I don't even know how to spell sports, and I don't. But I have to tell you a quick story, and then we'll keep moving on. I'll never forget the first time I was called up to do the PA announcing.
Oh yeah, I remember that day.
I know you do, because it was, well, first of all, it was Remembrance Day ceremony, and I was like, really? First time ever? And I called out, so Robert called me out because I called out the time wrong. It said 11:48 up there, and I said 11:48, and the phone rang, and somebody, whoever it was, I think it was Storm at the time, said, tell him he's got to do it the other way around. And I was like, I didn't know. Nobody told me.
Yeah. So you announced the time on the clock instead of the elapsed time in the period.
Yeah. And that's difficult. I had to get a special calculator to go, because I suck at math.
So
do you remember that?
Yeah. If you're not good at math, doing that little calculation,
right,
very quickly,
and
not
there's a
easy.
lot going on up there, right? Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah. I do.
I always thought, yes, I know. Like nobody. Yeah, it was fun. But again, that goes back to the philosophies of the staying the positive and including people, recognizing skills in people, and then putting that together on a team. And it's been many years in progress. But man, I think I'm with you. Like I think we're really set up for greatness in the next year, like next couple of seasons.
Next couple of seasons for sure. Yeah.
Now you talk about the Memorial Cup, like. How would that look, do you think? Because an arena's got to be a certain size, or it'd be more than one arena.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. I know that obviously the Memorial Cup is held in traditionally larger cities because they get the fans in the seats and more money. Corporate. That's what it is. But
it's a business.
I really believe that every organization in the CHL, regardless of their size, should be given the opportunity to host the Memorial Cup. Mm-hmm. Because why should the fans of those smaller markets, be left out? Yeah. What's the difference? I mean, I'm sure they could get the fire code adjusted for the Memorial Cup if the Sting ever choose to bid and host one. I'm sure they could get the fire code, and you could have 6,000 people pack that place every game.
Wow.
I just think, it's just
people
about
like this.
Yeah, because talk about last year in the playoffs, and you couldn't even move.
Yeah.
But I just think the opportunity should be given to those smaller markets. Yeah. So, and I think eventually it'll come, because. Do you want to keep going to the same markets over and over and over?
Good points.
Right?
Maybe we need to start a campaign on that, Robert.
Yeah, that could work.
Your involvement with the Sting, obviously Paralympian, you've really you've come across or overcome, I should say, a lot of obstacles in your life, just like different obstacles, and everybody's got them, right? You work here at Wellings in Corunna, right?
Yeah,
what do you do here?
So I'm the marketing coordinator. So I handle their social media.
Okay.
And I also help with prospect database management as well. So that's people that are maybe looking into moving in the future. Yeah. Give them a little call, say, hey, how are they doing? Check in on them every once in a while. Things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know I'm putting you on the spot. You have to say good things, but they treat you really good here, don't they?
Oh, for sure. It's a great organization. Welling's brand falls under a larger group, the National Land Holding Group, and they're just a great organization. I felt welcomed from day one. Probably helped a little bit that Billy, is. A great personal friend outside of the
He's a great connector, though, and he recognizes
for sure.
Everybody.
He recognizes when you deserve an opportunity, right? And that's where I didn't get that until I met him, right? You met that one person that recognizes, hey, this person deserves the opportunity, so let's give him a shot. I wouldn't be where I am today without the help of Billy, and his network, and something I'm forever grateful for.
Are you an NHL fan too?
Yes, I am.
And who's your team?
Toronto Maple Leafs. So but again,
Leaf fans, you're like zealots, right? Like they can screw up so bad, and you'll still love them.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's good. What's the future for Robert Hughes? Have you got a life plan, something you haven't done yet that you want to do?
Yeah, so again, here's a little bit of an emotional thing here. So when they found out I had the COVID, I had some scans, and they found out that I have a type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, follicular lymphoma. So it's a treatable and manageable version of the disease, but it's not curable at this moment in time. So right now, I'm just living life day by day, loving life, loving the people that love me. You know, like I just want to give back and say thank you to all those people, because I don't know, it could be, you know, next year, 5 years from now, I don't know what my future actually holds. So I'm just loving life as it goes, right? Because that's what you need to do, because life is precious, life is short, so just enjoy it while you ride. And you know what? I honestly hope I'm around for another 500 games.
Yeah.
You know, let's make that 1,000, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. You never know what will happen. Maybe 5 years or a few years down the road, they'll come up with a cure. I don't know. But
live in the now.
Live in the now, because tomorrow's never promised, right?
Thanks for sharing that, buddy.
No problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you are awesome. And I'm really glad that we've finally been able to have this conversation together. Because I've always I watch. There's Robert. He's doing his thing over there, and you're a part of it. You know, like you've got your spot. People come by, they say hi. What do you think, or what's going on? And I see you shake your head once in a while.
Well, and you know what? That's the one thing I will always do, is because a lot of the other staff is, you know, upstairs.
Yeah.
So they're not front facing with
No, you're right
the
there.
fans, right? So I will always make sure, if anybody comes up to me and asks a question or anything like that, I will always take the time and give them, you know, my
Just
time.
wait for the whistle. Don't do it while he's trying to watch.
Well, you know, last year during the playoffs, didn't matter, right? Like I was jammed in there like a sardine. Like they were like right up against me. So, but you know, it's so much fun, and you know, the passionate fans make it a lot of fun too. Yeah.
What do you do before we wrap up here? What do you do for fun when you're not doing the hockey or working here? Like, do you play video games or anything like that? Or
I got my PS5. And, you know, I like to indulge in a little Call of Duty, things that. So
are you good at it?
No. But again, it's not. Again, that's part of my disability. My hand dexterity, my one hand isn't great. So
you do it anyway.
Yeah, I just have fun with it, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Robert, thank you, my new friend. I feel like we've been friends a while, but I think we're more connected here.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's important, and it's definitely impactful. And you've given me some things to think about, actually. And this has been an important conversation. Aside from your success as a Paralympian and working with the Sting, etc., I know that you've got more coming.
And I'm going to leave everybody with this. I have a quote on my arm that's tattooed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can't see it all. But this is by Steve Prefontaine. He was an American distance runner in the 1970s and was tragically killed in a car crash just before the
To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
It doesn't matter what in life, always give your best to anything you do.
That's great advice, buddy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks again, Robert.
Okay. No problem, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for watching this. This is a great interview, and I hope you get some takeaways from this and some learning. So once again, put your comments, your questions down below, and I'm sure Robert will check them out and follow up. But as always, click the like and the love, I know, but click the share button so we can share Robert's story and everybody else here. But right now, that's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better week, and we'll see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.